are we looking at the end of Vladimir Putin, or is this the renewal of Vladimir Putin? Keep in mind, it took us the better part of 5 or 6 years in the United States to go from George W. Bush lying us into the war in Iraq in 2002 and 2003 to the point around 2007, 2008, where Americans had fully realized that we had been lied into a war, that thousands of American soldiers had died and millions, hundreds of billions of dollars had been spent, and now trillions, for no good reason whatsoever, other than George Bush thought that that would get him reelected in 2004. And Dick Cheney wanted to sell off the oil wells, the oil fields of Iraq to a whole bunch of foreign oil companies who were his buddies. I mean, that's what it boiled down to. But it took us the better part of 4 or 5 years to figure out that we had been lied to. We were all, I mean, not all of us. I certainly wasn't. Many of us were calling out the war for what it was. But the majority of Americans, American popular opinion was largely supportive of Bush leading up to that war and after that war, even though there was it provoked what, until the election of Donald Trump, had been the largest protests in the world, the possibility of the war in Iraq. But once it happened, we fell into place. Is that same thing happening in Russia? I'm getting really conflicting reports about this. In some reporting is suggesting that the Russian media is they've completely locked down all the news. They're doing blow-by-blow reports of how they're seizing territory in Ukraine because they are denazifying the country, because there's this Nazi Zelensky who's running the country, and we've got to take this Nazi down. Zelensky, whose grandfather was the only survivor of 3 brothers who were in the German concentration camps and who is Jewish and ran for president as a Jew and was elected in Ukraine. The Russians are saying, oh, no, he's a Nazi, and we're denazifying. So there's a large part of the Russian electorate that's doing exactly what Americans did after George W. Bush lied us into Iraq, which is like, so we're in a war, okay, we support our troops, pass the fries. And then there is this smaller anti-war movement that is growing very rapidly in Russia. And so, we've got kind of dueling commentators on this issue. Putin has apparently created, I don't know if it's Putin or if it's just kind of organically or the trolls or what, but they have started putting the letter Z, which, by the way, is not part of the Cyrillic alphabet. It's part of the English alphabet, and a lot of other countries' alphabets. But they're putting the letter Z on their tanks and things that are going into Ukraine. At first, people thought that stood for Zelensky. It was like a statement of solidarity with Ukraine or something like that. Turns out, no, it's become like the new swastika. This is the new symbol of Russian autocracy. You got a Russian athlete wearing a Z. This was a Russian gymnast, Ivan Kuliak, was wearing a white Z on his leotard as he was standing next to Ukraine's Katuva Ilya, who had just won the gold Olympics in Doha, Qatar. A bunch of severely ill Russian children are taken outside and lined up in a Z formation for a photo that's gone viral on social media. It's showing up on flags, on trucks. Russian spy Maria Butina drew a Z on the lapel of her jacket. So it's kind of weird, that the first letter of President Zelensky's name would be the new Nazi logo for Russia, but it appears to be happening. Meanwhile, Clint Watts, who is did an interview with Kara Swisher for the New York Times, he's a senior research fellow at the Foreign Policy Research Institute. He thinks this is going to take down Putin. He says Putin will be unsuccessful at installing a compliant government in Ukraine and predicts that they would need 800,000 soldiers to do that, and they don't have them. He said, I'm worried about Moscow falling between day 30 and 6 months from now. He said Putin is going to try to throw everything at the wall to convince Russians that things are going well, that the war is justified, and if he gets in trouble, he's going to say, look, they're doing it to us. But Clint Watts says, I think it's starting to break. On the other hand, you've got Fox News and Tucker Carlson and whatnot out there saying, oh, it's all just propaganda. On top of this, we have an agreement with Ukraine to protect their borders. We do, the United States, as does the United Kingdom. It's called the Budapest Memorandum. I'll tell you about that right after the break, and then I'll pick up your phone calls. How do you think this thing is playing out?